All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So, we are going to be discussing the key conditions that you need to try and achieve for maximum effectiveness on the various TMG levels. Now, I was going to do one video for each stage. That basically went over the team composition, but I am going to show you the composition I am using between ASCALON, Galgoria, and Siegfried all at the same time, because that really kind of gives you an idea of how you're going to have to adapt your teams and really analyze what you have available to you and what skills each hero is bringing to the table that's going to give you the effective clearing of each stage, no matter what your budget is, no matter what you have available to you, because each hero now in this game brings quite a bit of relevance to each stage of TMG. There might be a hero that's useful in all three. There might be a hero that's only useful in one stage, but the reality is there now every hero is relevant in some capacity. There is something that a hero that you may have never used can do on every one of these stages. So if you've got a hero sitting around and you're like, I don't know what to do with this hero, just put it in the comment section like, hey, I've got this hero. How would you suggest I use them? And I'll give you some suggestions. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with Galgoria, and we're going to set up dispatches for all three of these teams. So first we're going to go through the roster itself. Okay. Now here's the deal. We're going to do a quick run with this comp, and I'm going to show you what it is that I'm looking at to establish how I need to set this team up. Now, before I do that, I want to go through what the composition's objective is and what the overall goal is of Galgoria. Okay? So I'm going to do this as a 3-part series, and we're going to focus on Galgoria now, and I'm going to show you briefly the other two teams, but then I'll do a separate video that really breaks them down as well. So first of all, we've got F-Ray. What is the purpose of F-Ray? So the purpose of F-Ray here is her shield. Now, she has the capability of having one of the best shields in the game, and moreover, her shield is capable of being spammed, which is important because you want that shield up at all times. Now, where it gets really, really complex is that Galgoria has a effect here where the shield of heroes is reduced by 60%, which is why we want her to have the highest attack. So a lot of people are trying to get their DPS to be high attack, but with Galgoria, your goal is to have ideally 3 DPSs. Now, they don't necessarily all have to be A220. They don't even necessarily have to be A anything. They can, for Galgoria 1, you can have 2 or 3 star, DPSs with, no soul weapons. What you want, though, is you want them to all ramp up very, very similarly to one another. You don't want one hero that is overpowering the other, especially if you're relying on them for debuffs or buffs to the team. You want each of the heroes to be doing similar ramping as far as DPS, and you want them to all have about the same ceiling. So a hero that you may be using to great success over in World Boss, you may actually want to scale back for the purpose of Galgoria if you're going to integrate it into your roster, so that your other DPSs that are maybe up and coming are capable of toggling with your primary DPS, okay? But none of them should have high attack, because F-Ray's shield is going to be a hell of a lot weaker when she is not at highest attack. Now, I have really been messing around with a variety of permutations here. And for reliable dispatching and even for autos, basically she needs to open with her S2, or she needs to have incredibly fast skill activation and mana recovery, or your team needs to be incredibly tanky. So the incredibly tanky part can be pretty easily achieved if you have whaled your UTs and have some really good TMG gear, and are willing to wait longer for the clear. But ideally, the best thing you can do for F-Ray is get her attack speed up. I've got mine at just under 1500, plus she's getting more from Pocket Watch, and that's before any buffs. Plus she's getting more from her perk here. And of course, she's getting a bunch from her shield itself once it actually is activated. Okay, so, but in the very beginning, you want her, if she autos and opens up with her S3, for instance, and then goes over to her S2, that's leaving your team incredibly vulnerable, because her shield is, of course, down, and you can be one-shotted if you don't have enough attack reduction and or damage reduction on your team. So, but we do want her to be the highest attack, which mine is. Now, I've got a piece of gear that cools the second skill down by 10%. So this is going to help to ensure that her shield is up 100% of the time. With this piece, the Pocket Watch, and her UT2 being at 4-star, it is very, very rare that her shield isn't up 100% of the time. If I really, really wanted to make sure that her shield is up 100% of the time on her own without relying on Adi, or Ray, or any other hero that brings cooldown, Pris, whatever, then this should really be 5-star, and it would be exactly 100% of the time that it's up. But because I have Adi on the team, it's just enough to clinch this thing into a 100% uptime. These are just pure attack pieces, right here. Okay, and believe it or not, because that's 35% plus the 16% for a total of 51%, and then it just has a higher overall base attack of the 32,706 versus a standard set of earrings, which is 23,000. It's actually more attack overall than my maxed out attack line earrings that I have here, which is, 55%, but lower overall base percentage. Plus, she's getting that MDEF, which is great. This is just a random piece I got, so I was very blessed with that. And then just to make the shield a little bit stronger, I went ahead and upped it with some TMG cubes. So this is my F-Ray build. Again, want to have her with high attack. Now, you might be wondering, why did you drop the attack up perk? Well, it's because I needed attack speed, and I'd rather have the defense. Something's going to be sacrificed anyway, because I need the heal rate to be up. I need the attack reduction here, and of course I want the shield on everybody, and I need this crit chance for my 3 DPSs, which you will see here shortly as to why I need that. So it was better for me to make her a little more tanky, and drop this perk and give her attack speed in case she autos with S3, S1 out of the gate in either a dispatch or, like I said, in an auto. So this, believe it or not, was the thing that finally enabled me to have a 100% clear rate on Galg, was just putting this attack speed buff on her. Crazy as it sounds, this actually made a difference. It also helps Arch, because Arch is the other one that can open up, and if Arch opens up with his S3, then that also ensures that your team gets survival. Now, Arch is really critical to Galgoria. One, he's bringing massive heal rate reduction, okay? A big M damage amp, and there's your 50% heal rate reduction from Purifying Blaze, and then, of course, you're getting 50% heal rate reduction from this. More is bringing 120%. You need a total of 220%, okay? That's how much you need on stage 5 and 6. you need 220. I think it's 160% on 4 and below. But on 5 and 6, you need 220. So just him and Mora alone are bringing the 220%. But Mora's takes a little while to ramp up. And that's okay because, and by the way, this judgment sigil, if you're wondering why I don't have this perked, I will perk it once I get him 15 TP, additional TP, but I'm not going to give him that TP right now. This was more important to me because it extends the duration of this, which is a 30% attack increase for the whole team. And even if this is whaled to 5 stars, all that's going to do is amp his damage. I'm not trying to do that. He is here purely as a support. So at the end of the day, you know what? I should really put an M-Tough rune on him. But I don't have an M-Tough rune at the moment. Damn. I have an M-Block rune. But I don't have an M-Tough rune. Let me pause this and find an M-Tough rune. Okay, so we've got him on an M-Tough rune. So Arch can be really low investment. He's a natural A1 3-star. Like, I've never bought anything for this guy. This is just the way he came. And when I started looking through in desperation for a third archer, I literally just systematically went through each archer, started reading about what it is that they brought to the table. And when I saw him as a recommended hero in the packs that dropped, this definitely was confirmed as to why he's a recommended hero, and it has nothing to do with his soul weapon. I mean, his soul weapon literally does nothing for the team other than give him some cooldown. And you could get him into DPS status, which would be great. But the bottom line is, you know, it does put Judgment Sigil on everybody, which is great. But let's read about Judgment Sigil right here. Every 15 seconds, okay, it deals Judgment Sigil to all enemies. Or wait, maybe I'm wrong on that. Hold on. Okay, yeah, there you go. So every attack. Okay, so S1 right here, which has got a very spammable 6-second cooldown, puts Judgment Sigil on the target for 15 seconds. So as long as this is firing every 15 seconds or so, then everything's going to have Judgment Sigil on it. But this, every 10 seconds, marks Judgment Sigil on one random enemy. Well, we're only against one random enemy, so he's always going to have Judgment Sigil. Okay? Galg's always going to have it, which is why I didn't put this on there. But just in case he gets stunned at some point or whatever, and there's a chance of it falling off, I'll eventually perk this for the purpose of Galg. But you don't really need it, especially with the fact that she's bringing 20% heal rate reduction right here with her skill, okay? And in my case, DK is bringing heal rate reduction as well, okay? So right there, 2.5. So he's bringing another 30%, which closes the gap. But it's nice because between Arch, Fallen Prey, and DK, they're capable of putting 150 heal rate reduction right out of the gate onto Galg before Morris stacks even start hitting, okay, which is fantastic. And then this perk right here brings it up to 120% of the heal rate reduction, okay? So where is it? Here we go. Each flame stack deals separate M damage and reduces heal rate by 1%. Okay, so that's why Mora is really great here. Plus, she's a huge M damage amp. Again, you do not need to have these characters whaled for these compositions to work on stage 1. Literally, You can have these heroes in basic form at 5-star, maybe even 4-star, and clear 1 if you have this comp. Okay, you don't even really need unique weapons. It will certainly help, but it's really what their skills are bringing to the table and the synchronization that all of these heroes are bringing. And the key principles to apply are 3 DPSs, with F-Ray having the highest attack. Audi really should have a soul weapon for additional cooldown to close the gap and ensure that that shield is up 100% of the time. Of course, if he's A2, it's even better, because then 2 of your DPSs are also getting his soul weapon when it's A2. As you can see here, it changes the targets to 3, and the targets are based on highest attack. Okay, but again, not necessary for clearing the lower stages, but definitely helpful. In my case, I've got 2 magic DPSs, so I'm definitely going to amp magic. But the big thing you want to do is you want attack reduction. So I've got attack reduction here. I've got attack reduction here. Of course, Mora brings attack reduction with her unique weapon. And then I've got Arch, who is also providing immunity. So this is what I was getting ready to say earlier. It's not only a 50% damage buff, okay, and a 5-second stun, but it's also immunity for 5 seconds in base form. But if you snag UT3, it's a 10-second immunity, okay, with a 30%, sorry, UT is not necessary for a 10-second immunity. Immunity comes from the boost. This gives 30% attack as well, okay? And again, doesn't need to be wailed for that 30% attack. So really, really fantastic skill set here, okay? You've got 50% damage boost, which is huge. You've got immunity for 10 seconds. You've got kill rate reduction. You've got another 25% M damage amp there. He himself, if you decided to invest in him, is capable of doing incredible amounts of damage. This is an amazing hero. He is absolutely amazing. Okay? Look at that. Immune to M damage, which is insane for PvP purposes. Or at least Guild Wars. Like if you're going into Guild War and you guys have this guy maxed out and you see you're going against a magic team, man, what a great perk, right? You could probably set something up to nuke. Look at that. He's got mana reduction per hit. So, okay, it's just a single hit. I don't want to do a review on Arch right now, but I kind of just discovered this guy. I'd never used him before today, okay? And now all of a sudden I'm in love with the dude. Esker, I had built this guy as a DPS for Velk. This is an all-natural Esker here. Well, with the exception of the UT. But he was a natural A2. And then, of course, after I got him to A2 naturally, I started a 5-star, his unique weapon. What does Esker bring to the table? Well, 50% M damage amp for one. Plus, his soul weapon is bringing Death Pen to everybody. It's bringing attack to everybody. 60% attack. He's just a huge amp for your team. Huge amp. Plus right here, you get a 25% M damage amp when it's 5-star. And then this right here, okay, if you roll a 6 every time, which you can perk it to do, he's giving 8 allies up to 10 times 70% attack. Okay? 70% crit. And then he's giving another 47,000 attack. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. This guy's amazing. Okay? Plus he can amp himself another 30% right here. Okay? 10 he gets damage by 30%. Or cooldown 50%. Sorry. Wrong skill. This one right here. Increases his own attack by another 42,000 and defense by another 26,000. And then that's with 10 stacks. And then also increases damage to enemies 30% with the 10 stacks. You can actually increase the number of stacks to 3, which is only giving more attack and more defense, Doesn't give him damage to non-hero enemies. So, and this, by the way, non-hero works in ASCALON because he doesn't, damage to bosses don't work there, but non-hero boosts do. And then this right here, I'm not running, or this. I don't really want to get into it. Obviously, there's only one enemy, so it's not necessary. But I mean, you can still give it a 50% cooldown regardless, but only when they get killed. So fine in Ascalon, not good for Galg. But this one is interesting. Damage increases effect will activate after the cooldown reduction effect activates at max stack. Now, at first I was running this, and I was not running this because my battles were running a long time. So everybody was ending up with the pips anyway, just RNG wise. But this gets everyone stacked up with the attack and the crit damage much more quickly. This here, though, knocks him out of balance. This makes him do too much damage, where all of a sudden he's not toggling properly. And I'll show you why in a moment, because look at this. Attacks all enemies and deals massive damage, right? Permanently reducing cooldown of this skill by 2 seconds, or increasing its damage by 30%. Look at that. Or increasing its damage by 30%. Each with a 50% chance. So there's a 50% chance that one of those two things is going to happen, meaning it's a 25% chance for each individual skill, okay? But it's stacked up to 10%, 10 times, excuse me. Now, I'm assuming it overlaps, right? So once it's got, because it doesn't say each can be stacked 10 times. It just says this effect can be stacked up to a max of 10 times. But I'm honestly not sure. I'm not really too familiar with Esker. All I know is this guy's got crazy support potential and crazy DPS potential, and is probably one of the best overall heroes in the game because he's capable of such incredible support, and he's incredibly strong himself because you can actually amp this skill by a total of 300%, theoretically, or increase its cooldown by a total of 20 seconds, which would mean you can spam it. Now, what this skill does here, okay, is the damage increase effect will activate after the cooldown reduction effect activates at max stack first. So this makes me think that both can be stacked max to where you're able to spam a 300% damage increase skill every 2 seconds, which is maniacal. Because you could literally just put this on S3 skill cooldown, and it would literally just be like a butterfly from Reyna, where you can just sit there and just tap it, in theory. So that's just absolutely insane. But again, it was knocking him out of balance, where he was just doing way too much DPS. And then I wasn't getting all of these other perks because he was just on permalock. And as a result, I was losing. Okay, so it's important that this is getting applied to everybody. Okay, that's a good thing. We want that getting applied to people. That helps to close the gap. And if he's just locked, he's not doing anything. So we need his skills. All right, we need him critically hitting things, so he's providing a damage amp. We need him throwing S2 so that he's giving everyone attack and crit. We need him using this skill so that he's able to apply a damage buff on them with the skill itself right here that's in question. Okay, but that's Esker. So that's why he's here. Again, you need to balance these heroes. But he's not really bringing anything in terms of heal rate reduction or attack reduction. His main goal is M damage amplification, which again, you got 50% here, maximum of 25% here. Then when you go through his skills, you're getting attack and crit. He himself is amping himself there and amping himself here. Okay, so big M damage boost. Plus his soul weapon is giving 60% attack. It's reducing the cooldown of his soul weapon. And then if you get it maxed out, you're getting Death Pen. And then instead of 5 times, he's giving another 24% attack. So he's giving a total of 84% attack to everybody, which is just nuts. Okay, it's just absolutely insane, and it's for 60 seconds. On top of that, it's a very long-lasting skill. I mean, it's a lot like May, where this thing can have a 100% uptime, and it's used 7 times. This guy's just an amazing guy, amazing bosser. Anyway, so we've got heal rate reduction from Mora, attack reduction from Mora. We've got heal rate reduction and big M damage amp from Arch, big M damage amp from Esker, as well as crit damage amp and attack amp. We've got heal rate reduction amp from DLK, plus he's just an incredible DPS. He is also doing an all damage amplification with his A2, 20%, and increasing his own def pen, so, and his own attack. But he's not really a big buff for the team. In fact, I don't even run the Doom Light perk, the S2 Light perk, because at the end of the day, guess what? He's only amping himself. Everybody else is magic, so it doesn't even make sense. So instead I take a damage reduction, because he's taking magic damage, not physical. So this doesn't work here. So I take the damage reduction. He's got high base dodge. I mean, kinda. So that's 300 dodge. He might dodge something. He might not. Probably not a whole lot. 10% damage reduction further still. Damage of normal attacks. I found this gives him higher DPS than this, frankly. Because Frey's given him so much attack with her being on this comp. So much attack speed, right? Look at that, 500 attack speed. That he's just hitting so hard that his normal attack is just destroying everything. This helps to get him stacks even faster, so that this is getting maxed out. And this is better than the Traveler's Portrait here if you're trying to balance your DPS. This isn't as good as Traveler's Portrait, but if I run him on Traveler's Portrait, he's just doing too much damage, and I'm having the same problem I was with Esker. But, you know, in other situations, Traveler's Portrait would be better. I thought about, once I get Epis maxed out, running Traveler's Portrait, going back to S3 Light on Esker, and then that way everyone's more well balanced. But because Epis isn't maxed, which you'll see here in a moment, I need to balance off my lowest DPS, which is Epis, and that's the 90 stacks that I'm getting from the tiers. So instead of 40, right? So as a result, he's getting that right there. 900 penetration, and he's getting a total of 180,000 attack, which is amazing. Really, really great for him. Making his autos incredibly strong, because a crit auto is doing 1.6 million attack, and that's before all these 25% damage buff there, 35% there, 35% there, okay? And then that, damage of normal attacks by 25%. So I'm getting 50% plus another 25%, and then all that attack speed, right? Plus, look at that, normal and skill attacks reduce, and then have a 35% chance of dealing additional P damage equal to 250% of attack, right? So he's just really got a lot of DPS potential, and he's almost capable of 100% crit rate. If I re-roll the crit line on this piece right there to 160 or even 140, he'll be at 850, and then with the 150 from Frey, he'll be at a 100% crit rate. So I just need Reforged tickets, which are, of course, really hard to get right now. On a side note, Google Play Store, if you're an Android user, half off. They're normally 599 points. Now they're 299 points. So definitely use your Google Play points to buy Reforged tickets. You get 3 of them for 300 points or 299 points. Since you can't even buy any in the shop, I've already swiped everything that I can get that has Reforged tickets in the shop. That's going to be your best thing to buy in the Play Store right now. So anyway, so DK, heal rate reduction, is his main thing that he's bringing here to the table, and a little bit of an all damage amp with the 20%, but not really a whole lot for the team. He's not bringing a whole lot for the team, but the 20% all damage amp is nice. So needless to say, you would think he would be incredibly good over in Siegfried, and he is. Don't get me wrong, he is really good over there, but I don't need him over there. You only need one DPS over in Siegfried, and I'll go over Siegfried here shortly. So anyway, that's my DK. Now, Epis is my bottleneck. She's the thing that's holding everyone back. So once I get this thing 5-starred, that's going to be a 50% damage amp rather than a 24% to her S1. One enemy, so this is doing 100% more damage right here. Plus she's got her own heal, which is great because you can't run lifesteal here. So this is a form of lifesteal for her, which is fantastic. And recovery makes it even better. I got her some MDef. I just need to get that ACC line off. Again, reforged tickets, non-existent. So this is a damage amp for everybody to take advantage of. Again, bringing balance. This activates skill 1 after use. So it's spamming skill 1, which of course is getting that 24% damage amp. Of course, she's not getting the other half of the UT, but it's still better than any of the other UTs, since this thing is just permanently spamming and it ignores defense. See that? Ignores defense, which means you don't need to give her any penetration, which is why she doesn't have any. She has no pen, but she's got a useless P dodge line on her skills, and the ACC line. Don't need that. Recovery is good for her S1 because it is healing. So recovery actually increases that heal, but she's also an M damage amp. Okay, and this is how. So 20% chance, look at that. If I can get her to A2, the M damage now ignores block, and hit enemy takes 30% increased M damage for 7 seconds. So that would be the one to get, is A2. That brings her an M damage amp. Because right now she's only bringing that M damage amp. She's not doing any Def Shred because he's not affected by Def Shred. Okay, or maybe he is. Oh, he is. Okay, so that's good. Which one wasn't? This is why you need cleanse. Look at that. Reduces crit chance by 500. Whew. Damn. For 10 seconds, too. We definitely want to make sure that you have everybody with the same amount of crit, because you want that balance. You definitely want that balance. So yeah, the MDef Shred does actually work here. So that's good. Not affected though by upon taking damage, one from the Galgoria dispels imprisonment inflicted upon all heroes. Imprisons one hero that dealt the highest damage to Galgoria to remove from the battle for 8 seconds. Oh, so high attack speed is really, really good here. Right? Upon taking damage, dispels imprisonment inflicted. Imprisons one hero. Oh, okay. High attack speed triggers imprisonment more often, is what it does. It's a double-edged sword. So you want to have high attack speed to trigger the to keep the imprisonment from triggering, it looks like. And increases damage dealt by all heroes that are not imprisoned for 8 seconds. Yeah. So you want a high attack speed. That way, this isn't activating as often. But you're always going to have 1 DPS in there. But he is not affected by changes in attack speed and has high heal rate, recovering HP every second. Heroes cannot lifesteal, but Epis can. And she's bringing an MDef shred. In stage 4 and above, it is increased by 50. So then he's at 170. And your heal rate of your heroes is reduced by 40%, which is why I bring S1 Dark on Fallen Fray. Okay? And there's a permanent heal rate reduction with Fatal Venom, which is why it's important that you CC him down as quickly as possible. Because if you can CC him down before he's able to use 3 skills, then you don't take a stack of Fatal Venom. Okay? So that's crazy, though, the crit chance. So there is a hero that increases, well, I mean, like Cassandra increases everyone's crit chance by 700, but that won't work. I feel like there is another hero that increases everybody's crit chance, though. Everyone's, the teams. That's not a priest. And I'm having a hard time remembering who it is at the moment. So anyway, bottom line is, well, let me figure that out. I'm going to figure that out and tell you guys who it is. It's Annette, which is probably why she's one of the recommended heroes here. But I'm using Adi. But Annette, overcharge, increases crit chance by 250. So that would certainly be useful. I think there might be another one, though. Give me a second. Uria is another one, but it's only to 2 DPSs, assuming she's a DPS. So if you actually have Uria whaled, you could use her as a DPS, but you'd be forfeiting Arch, which is pretty risky because you're forfeiting 50% heal rate reduction, but you are still getting a pretty good M damage amp, but you're also losing immunity to M damage and a 30% attack buff for everybody. But she does bring 300 crit chance to herself and to one other one with this perk. So that can kind of help there a little bit. I'm going to keep looking here, see if I can find another one. She does not increase crit chance, but I do want to point out something to her about her. So currently I'm using her in Sig, mainly for her attack reduction. I could use Zera. Zera is also very good there. She's bringing 25% MDef shred, as well as 25% M damage amplification that basically has a permanent uptime via poison. The poison, when perked with this, is a 25% attack reduction as well. She can bring mana reduction here. Zera would honestly probably be better than Lorianne in Sig. And I used Zera there when I was using DK as my DPS. But now that I've dropped DK and I'm back to Laudia as my DPS, I'm probably going to put Zera back and into the mix. The only reason why I'm considering keeping her here is because I do like the M damage amplification that you get there, 30%. And what I don't like, though, is the 500 mana that it's giving her. Because the thing with Sig is you want to keep your mana low. So this is causing her to lock occasionally, versus using Zera, who reduces the mana, but then also recovers her own. So she's kind of also at a thing where she's locking up, but that's permanent. Like that's just always there. When she's in the Crest of Extortion phase, okay? And her soul weapon does do an attack reduction of 20%, and also a mana reduction, but it's not bringing an M damage amp to the table, right? It's only bringing an attack reduction, which of course Lorianne brings, but then it also is bringing that mana reduction. Here, it's reducing the attack by 30%, and the boost effect of the attack itself to 50 instead of at 30, and changes it to 4 instead of 5 skills. So I think if she was A2, it would be a lot better, because then she'd immediately go into the darkness awakened phase, which would make a whole slew of things better. The nice thing with Zera, I mean, they really trade blows, honestly. I have the right UT on. I have the right UT on Lorianne. I don't here on Zera. And I don't like that this UT is recovering mana of everybody every second. So it was causing a lot of people to get locked out. If I got her there's a different UT. I think it's an M damage amp. That would be better. But Lorianne's got the M damage UT, the M damage amp UT. This year is 25%, a 30% damage amp. And then this here is a 20% damage reduction for the ally with the lowest attack, which is usually Laudia. And then right here, it's 160,000 attack for all allies, and a 40% damage reduction that they're taking, right, for 10 seconds. You see that? It's also a heal rate reduction, which would be good over in Galgoria as well. So anyway, she also has that protection there if she takes fatal damage, which is nice. I mean, plus she's got the lifesteal already built in there, which is really, really good. So Zera's good in Sig. She's good in Galg. I'm not using her in either currently because I was locking out a lot. So once I get her on a different UT, I'll probably change that. But as far as increasing the crit chance of everybody is concerned, really the only one that can do that, other than Goddess's Blessing from right here, is Annette, it seems. If you guys know, and Cassandra, right? Because Cassandra increases everyone's crit by 700 right here. But crit reduction does not work. You have to have crit resistance in order for a crit reduction of that particular damage type to work. So like crit reduction works really well in PvP. It works well in Xanadu because Xanadu has crit resistance of 300. So you can use crit resistance there, but you need a crit chance increase to counter Galg's 500 reduction that's coming right here. But as long as all your heroes are at 850 and then are getting that additional 150 from here, then they're all going to be equal in terms of your damage, which again is important. You need that balance. So Adi, I put him in a full-on Sig set for more mana, more cooldown, which is very, very helpful. Again, attack reduction, T5 Dark for more cooldown, M damage amplification, because that's what the majority of the team is, damage reduction for himself, mana for all. So anyway, this is Adi, and the lines, some of them are good, some of them are just trash. All these lines are good on Adi. Whereas over on him, I mean, P-Dodge, not even useful. I'm doing it for that third skill cooldown for damage immunity. Don't really need him critting. Don't really need him doing crit damage. But this is good for support once I get him doing some DPS duty. M block, M dodge, not bad. It's at least M damage type, right? More M dodge. CC resist, kind of you know. So he's, not, the lines aren't completely useless on him. I have a TMG set for her. No, that's not it. Where is it? That's what she's wearing. Okay, here we go. This is for ASCALON, or Assassin. Okay, so you can see here, not bad. I need to get that lifesteal off of there. I'm going to use it here. This is very good for her S1 and S3 since it activates S1. Gives her a little bit of tankiness, gives her the tankiness that this gives, right? It's 27%, this is 24%, but it's something. But you're at least getting the 25% attack and the 25% damage dealt to heroes, which, you know, of course, this is 27% and 27 less. So a full set is not quite as much of a damage boost or a damage reduction as Bach, but you are getting that 25% attack. The thing is, it takes time to ramp up. It takes 100 seconds to get it. So Bach is still better, especially right out of the gate. But ad skills can more than compensate for that, right? And in my case, I'm getting 25% damage increase to her S1 here. So that's good. I'm also losing lines, but there's, you know, attack. So when I was running this kit, I think if I could get this lifesteal line to either attack or crit damage, then it would be on par with this box set. Because this box set does have this useless P-Dodge line that I can't re-roll off of it. But at the end of the day, I could still make this box set better if I enchanted up to 11%. And I've only got that on these two pieces. So Bach definitely still has a lot of relevance, unless you just end up with some really, really good TMG gears. Like, I would venture to say that if I had 4 pieces with, you know, does 25% damage on skills that ignore defense, then that would be really, really great as a starting point. But because that's a 100% damage increase on top of this. Okay, but she's my bottleneck. So that's right there, my team. We're going to run it on full auto, and you can see for yourself. And I'm going to actually purposefully open with this skill rather than the shield. So you can see a worst case scenario. And I'm going to show hit status. So we're going to stage worst case scenario here is that it autos to this. And you can see how close everyone is to death. Look at that. I mean, Epis literally almost died. Literally almost died. Okay? And that right there is why I put her on the 3-star and I put Esker on the 1-star, because she kept on dying in the event that she was opening with this and this. So that little bit of extra damage reduction from the hybrid animals made the difference. So when you're doing these and you're studying to establish what's going to work for dispatch, look at the status and see who's taking damage. And if they're a support, especially, just get them tanky. Get them tanky. Okay? And then take a look at your DPS. Make sure everyone's getting balanced. Esker takes a little while to ramp up, but you want to see everybody doing by about maybe a minute or so into the match. You want to see everybody within about 10 to 15% of one another. Okay? So we're getting up onto that point right now. We're getting in close to the minute mark. Okay? And Esker's starting to ramp up. Epis and DK are already balancing with one another. And Esker is starting to get ramped up here. Once he starts taking the lockout, then Epis and DK can really start soaring. Of course, we're just pure RNG here, so... Okay, sorry about that. Dogs were asking me to go to the bathroom. So Esker hasn't snagged high damage yet, which is unusual. Normally it's really nicely toggling between the three of them. But it could also be the fact that I did re-roll a couple of the lines on DK, because he is definitely doing more damage now than normal. So I'm probably going to have to balance DK down. But as you can see, even with that worst case scenario of S3, S1 opening on F-Fray, which would normally throw the match, her shield, once she was able to finally S2 it, was able to have that 100% uptime. But at this point, I am going to need to scale DK back in order to get Esker into the toggle, because typically everyone's DPS is closer to the 250 range when Esker can actually get himself involved in the toggle. So needless to say, that is critical. Okay, you want to definitely make sure you're getting your 3 DPSs toggling, especially if you're using Esker, who's of course bringing massive amps to the team. And you want to make sure that you're paying attention to that status bar, and that everybody is staying alive as much as is possible. Okay, the other thing I could potentially do is scale back Epis so that Esker is able to get up there and into the mix with her a little bit more. So what I'm going to try and do is, since she brings less buffs to the table than Esker, is I'm going to put this on her, which again has that useless lifesteal line. You know what? Screw it. I'm not... Let me see. Where's her attack? 574 right now, right? Now it's at 539. Her MDef is up. She will be critting more once the 500 hits, but she's still not at 100%. It's got that useless lifesteal line, but it's going to either be useless P-Dodge or useless lifesteal. What I might be able to do, though, is put this back on her and then amp Esker with the 3-star version, because she's getting that damage reduction from the additional MDef, and he's already got a lot of MDef, just being a wizard. Of course, less than her now. So she's at 539. He is at 752. So even still, DK, Esker, and Fallen Fray are definitely going to be, and it's good that Esker wasn't locked out, in the sense that he's bringing the most buffs to the table. But at the end of the day, I also want to make sure that everybody is getting ample time to ramp. So let's go ahead and do this again with these modifications. We'll go to the status bar, and I am expecting, of course, that Epis's DPS is going to have dropped quite a bit, probably at least 15% or so, between the reduction in attack and the fact that I went from 21% 3-star Book of the Mad to, Fantastic Hybrid Animals book, to a 0-star, which is only a 12%. So that right there is another 9% reduction. But we'll see, maybe not. If you're wondering where the HPS is coming from on Audi, it's on the 1% heal per second. That's what that is. Okay. So we're going to look at the status bar first. Everybody's should be a hell of a lot more tanky. Of course, the shield was up there, so no worries there. This is completely RNG. And let's go ahead and let's restart it, where I do that worst case scenario again, and we see what happens to Epis without a shield going on. And hopefully Arch hasn't fired his S3 and apply judgment sigil on anybody. So, because of course, if he, which is the other nice thing about Arch, is that it kind of functions as a shield, just like Fallen Frey he is giving the damage immunity as well. So there's a higher likelihood of survivability. So let's do an S3, S1 opening on... Ooh, Mora took a lot of damage. Look at that. Okay, so as you can see, everybody survived much, much better. Everybody survived much, much better. Still waiting for a heal on Arch. There we go. Okay. So we should definitely be okay as far as that is concerned. Now look at that. Esker is finally getting up there on the DPS side of things, which is good. So everybody can ramp up. Probably not going to amp up into the 200,000, 250,000 range, but I would be happy with 210, 225, because, and having the assurance that everyone is more survivable. I mean, we're not even a minute in here and already everyone's starting to toggle, which is good. So, if the video stops suddenly, I appreciate you watching it. I know it's almost an hour long. That's just because Android has a 4 GB file limit size. Most of this stuff has not been animations, so the video storage is of course a lot better. And it would seem as though Esker is still not quite toggling because DK is still outclassing everybody, even though he's the only physical hero here. Absolutely maniacal. Absolutely maniacal. Just how good DK is, even with no Fizdam amps. So, it's insane. Yeah, when I amped himself with his S2, nobody was toggling with him hardly ever. Okay, there we go. Now we got Esker into the toggle. This is good. Okay, everyone's starting to ramp up here a bit. This is encouraging. And as you can see, they're all toggling. Shield has that 100% uptime, which is important. Shield doesn't go away, stays up. Okay, DK's the first to crack into the 200 and look at that, almost 250. So that's good. He's starting to go down real fast, which is fine. And everyone's DPS is slightly better, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is I only took 2 stacks of the Venom and nobody's health went particularly low. So that is the best part. So there you have it, folks. That's my guide on Galg. I'm going to go ahead and quickly show you my comps for the other two and set up a dispatch on this. You will see, let's see here. Let me exit out of this. You will see what my other teams are, and they use none of those heroes. And I'm able to successfully dispatch all 3 stages at stage 5. Actually, I can dispatch stage 6 on Sig. Probably Galg now on 6 as well. But needless to say, we're going to go ahead and we're going to save this change. Here we go. And I've got redundancy on this on 2 separate pages because it took so long to create these teams. I don't want to risk overwriting on accident. Okay, so let me go clear this shop real quick. And nope, nothing for me there. All right, we're going to go ahead and set up the dispatches. And I like to do 50 at a time. So we're going to go ahead and do this stage here. Who did I miss? There he is. Okay. All right, so that is Galg. And now that's going to do its thing. We're going to dispatch SIG. And I'm going to do a video on SIG, but I want you to see that I can, with confidence, send everybody out. And I don't have to use them. Like I said, I'm not going to use Zara quite yet. I'm not 100% against her. I did use her here for a while, but I'm not quite there. And just to give you an idea, look at that low investment Visca. Still completely viable. You'll see that in the next video as to why. Damn, come on. Here we go. And last but not least, and this is my only team that is pure TMG gear. Purely TMG. And I will do a review on ASCALON as well and explain everything later on. But that is my first team that is purely TMG, and I'm getting a little bit nervous about the fact that so what we're going to do here is we are going to put a lifesteal rune on him, keep this, boom, and we're going to put a P toughness rune on her. She's got lifesteal there. She doesn't really have a lot in terms of mana recovery, does she? That's probably the reason she desperately needs more mana. These lines are not that good. A lot of useless lines. Well, I'm going to take a chance. She's still got 160 lifesteal. So we're going to put a P toughness rune there and leave her with the mana recovery. And she's still got lifesteal. She's got a fair amount of attack speed. Plus she's getting an additional 200 from Pris from this set for melee heroes. Then of course she's getting another 150 from this. So she's getting 350 there. And I feel like she's getting attack speed somewhere else as well. I don't remember where it is. That's attack and def. And is she the one? No, she's given mana and heal. Does she give it to herself? No, she gives herself dodge and crit chance. Anyway, whatever the case, we'll go over that in the next video. Man, how far away am I? Damn. I need quite a bit. There we go. Okay, so that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something about Galg. And now we got all three of the teams here dispatched, and we're going to get our 100% win rate, and I will pause it and show you that here in a moment. Okay, so it's been a little bit here, and let's see how everything's going. Hopefully it's at all 100%, and it is. Nice. So everything's at 100%, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you're dispatching 5, it doesn't matter whether you're dispatching 1, 2, 3, 4. I will say, personally, I have experienced the best drop rates from 1. So even with all of these teams right here that you've seen running around on stage 5 of each of their respective levels, or whatever you want to say, I have a scrap team. And by scrap team, I mean a team of leftovers that I have set up to run any of these 3 stages on stage 1. And I'll just have it auto farm stage 1. The only reason I'm doing stage 5 is for the chance at reclaimed, because it's really, really expensive to get a piece of gear into reclaimed status. So at the end of the day, if I can snag a really good piece of reclaimed gear, it is totally worth it, which is why I'm doing 5. But if I was really just trying to go for pieces and add skills purely, and that was it, and I wasn't trying to get the highest scores that I could possibly get in World Boss and have the best competitive edge in PvP, I would actually just exclusively do 1, and eventually over time reclaim the piece of gear with the weekly mats that they give you towards reclamation. But at the end of the day, since I can do 5, I'm doing 5, but I auto 1 permanently with some kind of a team in order to snag higher rates of gear. Because when you auto stage 1 on any of them, the drop rates are higher than a dispatch on stage 1 or any other stage, even stage 6. Like I went and dispatched SIG at stage 6, 200 runs, I opened everything up, I saw about a 5% drop rate. I went and autoed SIG 1 for the same amount of stamina and ended up with about a 13% drop rate. Obviously, I ended up with less crystals, but the drop rate was nonetheless 13% overall. So I ended up with a lot more gear. And again, that's 28,000 stamina, 30,000 stamina. So 300 runs on stage 1 versus 200 runs on stage 6. And on 300 runs of stage 1, I ended up with about 30 pieces of gear. I think it was 30 pieces total. So that's it's like a 13.5% drop rate. 13.33333333. And then on 200 runs with 30,000 stamina on SIG 6 on a dispatch, I ended up with 15 pieces of gear. So, and none of them were reclaimed. That's not to say that you won't get reclaimed gear. You could. I actually, using all of the crystals, was able to craft, I think, 4 or 5 pieces of reclaimed gear from the 200 runs that I did on SIG. But I was also able to craft 4 or 5 reclaimed pieces of SIG gear with all the crystals that I got from the 300 runs. So at the end of the day, stage 1 is definitely best if you're just trying to get ad skills. And since these gears with 0 stars are better than 5-star T8 gears, I really do think that's the best approach. And it's also a hell of a lot less money. But since I'm willing to give myself that competitive edge, I'm willing to take the chances, I am dispatching stage 5. But that does not mean that you should, even if you can, if all you're going for is ad skills. So Oh, look at that. I lost on ASCALON here. So what I do at this point when this happens is I do two things. I stop the battle if I see that if I see that there's a loss, and then I go and I run the battle in in auto, and I take a look at the status bar and see where the deficiency is. And I watch it and I look for the shortcomings. And once I figure out where that shortcoming is, where's Kane? Here he is. Whoops, I'm not dispatching. I'm talking and I'm not paying attention. There we go. And again, I'm going to do a video on ASCALON later, but this applies to all three of the stages. So if when you do your dispatches, you see that there's a loss, I've been tweaking a lot of things. I mean, you saw in this video earlier, I tweaked Tanya and gave her P-Tuff, so maybe Tanya is the weak link now. We're going to take a look at status, and we're going to see where everything is. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause this, because I already know no one is going to die until we get to ASCALON. I do think it's worth pointing out, look how much better Talisha's heal is than Ray. Ray is A2, and Talisha is out healing my priest. That's how good Talisha is here, people. And she's not even in gears that are specific towards healing. She is in gears that are specific towards DPS, and it's not but through attack either. It's through her ad skills. So that heal from Talisha is staggering. I mean, hell, even Kane is approaching the heal of Ray. Ray's heal sucks. So she is here specifically for the crit dam amp that she gives to everybody, as well as the damage, which I am not even certain applies to the waves 1 through 4. If it does, great. If not, I already am almost 100% certain it does not apply to ASCALON because of his whatevers. But I just think it's worth pointing out that Talisha's heal is amazing. So anyway, I'm going to pause this again. All right, here we are on ASCALON. Let's see who is my weak link. It could be a couple of people, in which case I might need to apply some stars to my friends. All right, so Talisha took a fair amount of damage. Everyone's debuffed. Pansy taking a lot of damage. Can't really do much with Pansy. She may be my weak link, I'm not certain. I already brought her orb up and into reclaimed status and put 4 stars onto it. I might need to just spring for a 5-star. I don't know if that will actually make the difference or not. But somebody is dying, and we need to figure out who. Could be Talisha, may not be. But you need to do this no matter what stage you're trying to dispatch. You need to look at your status bar and see on a pure auto run where the weak link is. And so far it appears to still be Pansy, which means I need to invest into her plate armor. And I'm going to do a video on ASCALON later on, so if someone's going to die, this is where it will be. These ASCALON raids just take forever. Wow. Come on. Who's my weak link? thing is you got to kill all these mobs, but I'm going to go over all that in my ASCALON review. All right, so it's seeming like it is Pansy. So, and of course, if I lose Pansy, I'm losing all that. Well, I can't bring up the DPS. I didn't click it fast enough. Anyway, so I will figure that out, and when I do my ASCALON review, I will show you the team that actually works. Hey, look at that. I got a piece of gear. All right, so we will talk to y'all soon. I'm telling you, you get more gear when you auto than you do on a dispatch. But I am impatient, so it is what it is. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you learned something fantastic and can go and clear Galg. Arch for the win.